What's the saddest meal you've ever eaten? When I was 12, my dad got laid off from the factory right before Christmas. Mom worked part-time at the grocery store, but it wasn't enough to cover everything. We went from eating out every Friday to counting pennies for milk. Dad would disappear for hours looking for work, coming home with rejection letters and this defeated look I'd never seen before. Mom tried to hide how worried she was, but I'd catch her staring at bills late at night, calculator in hand. The week before Christmas, our power got shut off. Mom called the electric company begging for an extension, but they said we owed too much. Dad just sat in his chair staring at the wall like he'd given up completely. That's when Mom made the decision that still breaks my heart. She took our Christmas present money, the $50 she'd been saving for months in a coffee can, and used it to buy groceries for one last decent meal. Christmas Eve dinner was supposed to be special. Ham, mashed potatoes, green bean casserole, the works. But instead, we sat around our kitchen table by candlelight, eating peanut butter sandwiches and drinking water from plastic cups. The bread was the cheap kind that falls apart when you spread anything on it. The peanut butter was generic brand that stuck to the roof of your mouth. We didn't even have jelly because Mom couldn't afford it. Dad apologized probably 20 times during that meal. "I'm sorry, buddy. Next year will be better. I promise things will turn around." His voice kept cracking like he was about to cry. Mom kept trying to make it feel festive. "Look, we're having a candlelight dinner just like fancy restaurants," she said, forcing a smile. But I could see tears in her eyes every time she looked at our sad little sandwiches. My little sister Amy was only 6 and didn't really understand why Santa wasn't coming this year. She kept asking if we could call him and explain that we'd been good kids, that maybe he just forgot our address. The worst part was watching my parents try to act like everything was normal. Dad would take these tiny bites and chew forever like he was trying to make the sandwich last longer. Mom barely ate anything, kept pushing food around on her plate. Halfway through dinner, the neighbors started setting off fireworks for Christmas Eve. Through our dark windows, we could see their house all lit up with decorations and smell their turkey cooking. Amy pressed her face against the glass and said, "Their Christmas looks so pretty." That night, I heard my parents whispering in their bedroom. Mom was crying, saying she felt like a failure as a mother. Dad was apologizing over and over, promising he'd find work after the holidays. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to them blame themselves for something that wasn't their fault. The peanut butter taste was still stuck in my mouth, and my stomach was growling because one sandwich wasn't enough. But you know what happened the next morning? Mom had somehow scraped together enough change to buy us each a candy bar from the gas station. She wrapped them in newspaper and put them under our pathetic little tree. When Amy unwrapped her Snickers bar, she acted like it was the best present in the world. She broke it into pieces and shared it with all of us, saying Santa must have stopped by after all. Dad cried watching her do that. Real tears, not the kind he was trying to hide. He picked Amy up and hugged her so tight I thought he might never let go. 3 days later, Dad got hired at a construction company. Within a month, our lights were back on and we were eating real dinners again. But that Christmas Eve meal of peanut butter sandwiches in the dark taught me something important. Sometimes the saddest meals become the most meaningful ones. Not because of what you're eating, but because of who you're eating with and what you're willing to sacrifice for each other. 25 years later, I still think about that night whenever I eat a peanut butter sandwich. How my parents gave up everything to make sure we stayed together as a family, even when they had nothing left to give.